Thank you. Thank you. I am very thankful to be here today with my family, my wife Jane, and my fellow Vermonters to announce my re-election campaign for the United States Senate. 4 years ago, I announced my political revolution, and I can assure you that the struggle still continues. I am proud to have been the longest-serving independent in the Senate, and despite losing my presidency, I can assure you that I am still fighting for the working class and middle class of this country. The current political climate has shown that the American people are still upset. Working families are still going without health care, and our kids are still not able to gain the education they need. More importantly, I think it is perfectly clear that Donald Trump must be defeated. To achieve this, we must set a progressive agenda that gets corporate money out of elections, guarantees health care for all of its citizens, and guarantees free public college tuition for all of our young people. Now, we already know that our president is separating our voters, dividing them with racist and xenophobic dogma, but our own Supreme Court has made it harder for our democracy to be for the working class and for everybody. The decision that made this happen is a split result from the Citizens United case in 2010. This disastrous decision gave corporations permission to support or denounce individual candidates in elections through funds. It gives unlimited money for wealthy billionaires to have much more influence on an election through super PACs. I fear very much that these big corporations will gain an unfair advantage in Washington while the middle class continues to be unheard. The people have spoken, and when only 58% of your eligible voters go to the polls in 2016, then the people are clearly saying that they are not satisfied. We should not be happy when a huge portion of our citizens don't want to vote because private interests are being heard louder than the voices of their brothers and sisters. It is clearly time for campaign finance reform. In response to this, my plan to revitalize our democratic system is to fight for stronger regulation on campaign contributions and allow the American people to know who is supporting their candidates. I have already begun an initiative back in 2013 in the Senate called the Democracy is for People Amendment, and I will continue to push this, saying that it would effectively prevent corporations from bankrolling election campaigns and give Congress and states authority to regulate campaign finances. What my partner, Representative Ted Dutch from Florida, and I have done is begun a movement that tells these private interests, enough is enough and you cannot have it all. But it doesn't stop there. The American people have the right to transparent representatives in public office. That is why I will insist on complete transparency regarding campaign funds through disclosure of contributions to outside spending groups such as the FEC. Through these policies, we are giving a backbone to the United States government and saying loud and clear that this country belongs to all of us and not the richest persons at the top. If we can know who is trying to influence our vote, then the American people will be more willing to vote for candidates who will truly be listening to their constituents. All of these reforms will excite people to join the political process and demand an investment within their communities. One such investment is a single-payer national health care program that guarantees coverage for every man, woman, and child in this country. Many of my colleagues have criticized this idea as impossible or radical. Well, let me tell you what is even more radical. What is really radical and extreme is the fact that our current president has proposed a $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, a $500 billion cut to Medicare, and a $72 billion cut to the Social Security Disability Fund. Under Trump's plan, he is giving tax breaks to the wealthiest 1% of this country, while he's treating health care as a privilege when it should be a right. It is especially concerning to me that the Republicans in Congress are trying to roll back the tremendous efforts of the Affordable Care Act when we should be expanding it. More people are insured thanks to the ACA, but 29 million Americans today still do not have health insurance, and millions more are underinsured and cannot afford high co-payments or deductibles. These high prices leave millions of people overlooked, and in one of the richest countries in the world, this should not be happening. As many other industrialized nations have done, it is time to join the rest of the world in establishing a nationwide single-payer healthcare program throughout the country. This plan will guarantee the care everyone needs, regardless of income or age. Under single payer, we can cover the entire continuum of healthcare, including vision, hearing, and oral care, as well as prescription medications. The majority of costs will be covered by the federal government, and there will be no longer a need to worry about which charges are going to be taken care of. It takes the stress off of payments and gives you the freedom to choose which doctor you want to see, wherever you are. The truth of the matter is that we spend more per capita than other countries like Australia, Canada, and Denmark, but yet we still don't have every single citizen covered. And even for those who are covered, two patients with the same condition may get very different care depending on where they live, the health insurance they have, and what their insurance covers. A single-payer program can ensure the costs remain low through negotiation with healthcare companies and providers. The federal government will be in charge of tracking provider shortages to ensure everyone has the coverage they need. The last goal for our political revolution is to guarantee that every student has the opportunity to succeed through tuition-free and debt-free public college. Nowadays, it seems more and more impossible to start a life after getting a degree due to the large amounts of debt each student has. Millions of kids don't even believe they can make it through college because of the high cost. This is unacceptable. Especially in a highly competitive global economy, we need the best educated workforce in the world. It should be a right to achieve a higher education regardless of how much a family makes. Everyone knows how important education is for the success of our country, and in fact, back in 1965, average tuition at a four-year public university was just $243, and many of the best colleges, including the City College in New York, did not charge any tuition at all. Today's world is obviously a lot more different than in 1965, and therefore we need to best prepare our students or we'll fall behind other nations who do have free tuition in public colleges. Now, it is clear that this all needs a plan, and I'll explain to you how tuition-free and debt-free colleges work. Hear me out. The big question is all about costs, as it should be. The tuition-free colleges plan will cost an approximate $75 billion. This is a lot of money, but not impossible. The way we pay for this is by imposing a tax of a fraction of a percent on Wall Street speculators who nearly destroyed this economy 10 years ago. These criminal acts put the country in ruins back in 2008, and it is time that they give back to the middle class who they hurt the most. We bailed out these institutions without a problem, but find it acceptable, somehow, to have our kids leave college with debt that follows them for the rest of their lives. That is why I introduced the College for All Act that would reduce student loan rates from 4.29% to 2.35%, It is essential to our workforce that we prepare our students for life by making the transition as easy as possible. We must get rid of this thought process that says, yes, for sure, we can bail out Wall Street after their greed has nearly destroyed the country, but we cannot help our young people because they're not wealthy campaign contributors. As you can clearly see, Our campaign is not about me. It's not about the Democratic Party. It's not about anybody else. Only just looking at today's problems and looking at an alternative response to them. Since the last time I have spoken to you, our radical ideas back in 2016 are becoming more and more mainstream. The middle class in this country has grown tired of politicians listening to corporations and wealthy lobbyists' special interests instead of their neighbors. They are disgusted by the fact that in the wealthiest nation in history, we still don't have guaranteed health care for all of our people. And in an increasingly more competitive global labor market, it is extremely counterproductive and short-sighted to discourage our kids from being able to get the education they need to succeed. The politicians in Congress might have all the money, but our political revolution has all of the people. The state of Vermont has led the country in progressive ideals for years, and together we can continue to make change. Let's get this middle class excited about the political process. Let's get them to start thinking big and outside of their own bubble. And let's get them to make a stand against division in the White House. Thank you very much.